Best phones for photography. Have you ever taken a photo with your smartphone, looked at it afterward, and thought, why doesn't it look as incredible as the pictures I see online? You zoom in, and the image becomes blurry. The colors feel dull. The night shots look like a painting made of noise. Meanwhile, someone else pulls out a phone from their pocket, taps a button, and suddenly captures a photo that looks like it came straight from a professional camera worth thousands of dollars. So here are flagship smartphones really replacing cameras? And if they are, which phone is actually the best for photography? The answer might surprise you because the phone with the highest megapixel count isn't necessarily the winner. The most expensive phone isn't always the best either. In fact, one of the biggest photography myths in the smartphone world is about to be exposed. And trust me, before this video ends, you'll discover which phones truly dominate photography in 2026 and which popular devices are getting far more credit than they deserve. Let's dive in. Photography has always been about capturing moments. For decades, people carried bulky cameras. Then came compact digital cameras. After that, smartphones arrived and changed everything. At first, phone cameras were terrible. Early smartphone photos looked soft, blurry, and lifeless. Nobody expected phones to become serious photography tools. But something incredible happened. Instead of relying only on better camera hardware, smartphone companies started combining hardware with artificial intelligence and computational photography. And that's where the revolution began. Today, the best smartphones can perform image processing that would have seemed impossible just 10 years ago. Your phone isn't simply taking a picture anymore. It's capturing multiple frames, analyzing light, identifying faces, balancing colors, reducing noise, sharpening details, and combining everything into a final image, all within a fraction of a second. The result? A device that fits inside your pocket can now compete with professional cameras in many situations. Not all phones are created equal, and the differences become obvious when you start testing them in the real world. Let's begin with one of the most famous names in smartphone photography, the iPhone. For years, Apple's philosophy has been simple. Instead of chasing unrealistic specifications, focus on consistency. That's why many photographers and content creators continue to trust the latest iPhones. What makes them special isn't always raw detail. It's reliability. You can point an iPhone camera almost anywhere, tap the shutter, and get a balanced image with natural colors, excellent dynamic range, and realistic skin tones. This consistency is why so many social media creators prefer iPhones. When you're shooting hundreds of photos every week, reliability becomes more important than occasional brilliance. But here's something interesting. Some competitors have already surpassed the iPhone in specific photography categories. And that's where things get exciting. Enter Samsung. Samsung has spent smartphone photography to extreme levels. Massive sensors, powerful zoom lenses, advanced AI enhancements, and some of the most versatile camera systems ever placed inside a smartphone. When photographers test flagship Samsung phones, one feature immediately stands out: zoom. The ability to photograph distant subjects remains one of Samsung's biggest strengths. Imagine standing at the top of a mountain. With most phones, distant objects become tiny details. With Samsung's advanced zoom systems, you can suddenly capture subjects that seem impossibly far away. Buildings, wildlife, sports events, concerts, situations where other phones struggle suddenly become opportunities for incredible photography. But Samsung isn't the only company challenging traditional expectations. Because another brand quietly built a reputation among photography enthusiasts: Google. And Google's story is fascinating. Google shocked the tech world. While competitors were adding more and more cameras, Google relied heavily on software. People couldn't understand how a phone with fewer camera sensors was producing better images. The secret? Computational photography. Google's image processing became legendary. Photos looked sharp, natural, and remarkably accurate. Night photography especially became a game changer. Many users remember the first time they pointed a Pixel phone toward a dark sky and captured details invisible to the naked eye. It felt like magic, but it wasn't magic. It was software working at an astonishing level. And this raises an important question. What's more important in photography, hardware or software? The answer is both. A great sensor without intelligent processing struggles to reach its potential, and brilliant software can't completely overcome poor hardware. The true champions combine both, which brings us to another major player that has dramatically changed smartphone photography: Chinese smartphone brands. A few years ago, many people ignored them. Today, that would be a mistake. Companies like Xiaomi, Vivo, and Oppo have invested heavily in camera technology. Some have partnered with legendary camera brands. Others have developed massive camera sensors that capture extraordinary amounts of light. The results have been impressive. In blind camera tests, many users can no longer consistently identify whether a photo came from an iPhone, Samsung, Google Pixel, or a flagship Chinese smartphone. That alone tells you how far the industry has come. But now let's talk about one of the biggest photography misconceptions: megapixels. For years, manufacturers used megapixel numbers as marketing weapons. 12 megapixels, 48 megapixels, 108 megapixels, 200 megapixels. The numbers kept growing. Consumers assumed bigger numbers meant better. But photography doesn't work that way. A camera's quality depends on many factors: sensor size, lens quality, image processing, dynamic range, low light performance, color science, autofocus capabilities. A well-optimized 12-megapixel camera can easily outperform a poorly optimized 200-megapixel camera. This is why professional photographers rarely judge cameras by megapixels alone. And neither should you. Now let's explore what truly separates great camera phones from average ones. The first factor is dynamic range. Imagine standing in front of a sunset. The sky is bright. The foreground is dark. Many cameras force you to choose. Either the sky looks good and the foreground becomes black, or the foreground looks good and the sky becomes overexposed. Great photography phones preserve both. They capture detail in shadows and highlights simultaneously. The second factor is low light performance. This is where smartphone photography becomes incredibly challenging. Light is everything in photography. When light disappears, weaknesses become obvious. The best phones use larger sensors, advanced stabilization, and AI-powered processing to maintain image quality after sunset. And the difference can be dramatic. A mediocre phone might produce a noisy mess. A flagship photography phone can produce an image that looks almost professionally lit. The third factor is color science. This is often overlooked. Two phones can photograph the exact same scene and produce completely different results. One might create vibrant, saturated colors. The other may focus on realism. Neither approach is necessarily wrong. It comes down to personal preference. This is why many photographers develop strong loyalty towards specific brands. They're not just buying hardware. They're buying a photographic style. Now here's the turning point. After years of testing, comparison, and real-world usage, experts increasingly agree on something unexpected. There is no single perfect camera phone. Instead, there are category leaders. If you want the most reliable overall photography experience, the latest iPhone remains a top choice. If you want unmatched zoom capabilities, Samsung stands near the top. If you love computational photography and realistic image processing, Google Pixel continues to impress. If you're looking for cutting-edge camera hardware and innovation, flagship Chinese phones deserve serious attention. The winner depends entirely on what kind of photographer you are. And that's the revelation many buyers miss. They spend hours searching for the best phone when they should be searching for the best phone for their specific needs. A wildlife enthusiast has different priorities than a social media creator. A travel photographer values different features than a portrait specialist. The smartest purchase isn't the phone with the highest score. It's the phone that matches your style. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson from the smartphone photography. Technology has reached a point where incredible photography is accessible to almost everyone. You no longer need expensive professional equipment to capture stunning images. You don't need years of technical training. You don't even need a dedicated camera. The device already sitting in your pocket is more powerful than professional photography equipment from just a couple of decades ago. Think about that for a moment. Millions of people are carrying extraordinary cameras every day without realizing their true potential. The future of photography isn't just about better hardware. It's about giving more people the ability to tell stories, preserve memories, and capture moments that matter. And that's exactly what the best camera phones do. They transform ordinary moments into unforgettable images. So, which phone is the best for photography? The answer is simple. The one that inspires you to take more photos, the one that helps you tell your story, and the one that makes every moment worth capturing. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our future tech deep dives. And before you leave, tell us in the comments, which smartphone do you think has the best camera right now? Your answer might spark the next big debate. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.